All right, so if you are watching this, then it is supposed that you will become a good literature player for the Quiz Bowl team. Now, one of the ways in which you can is that I have a notebook. And in this notebook, there are documents like this one, which, as you can see, is a set of, and let's see how long it is. It's 14 pages long. And in it, I include various different authors and a little blurb about them and what you might need to know and those sorts of things like that. This is your starting point. Because by learning the name of the author and what they wrote is only going to prevent the question from going dead. But that will help you to be not a bad player or a bad team if everybody doesn't let their area of question go dead. But what you want to do is that you want to be better than just mediocre. You want to get it before the other team. You want to, quote, power the question. So I'm going to use as an example William Wordsworth, who is a major English romantic poet, and you can see the sort of stuff that you need to know about him there. Now, if I had chosen a more obscure author, and let's say Benjamin Jonson or Montaigne, the first thing that you'll want to do as a quiz bowler is to make your entry for your study flashcard or your study notebook that you can obviously then go back to. And the way that you'll be able to do that and to see the relative importance is you go to this website called QuizDB. All you have to do is to Google it. And when you go to QuizDB, you can search, and what will happen is that all the Quiz Bowl questions that are archived here, it will show you how often something particularly comes up. So I would suggest leaving the category open, but if you would like to limit it, I suppose you can to literature, but I'm going to leave it open. And here you can obviously search to see if the thing that you are searching exclusively all of the times in which it was the answer to a question, or you could also include it if it is mentioned within the question. So I'm going to leave it here for our first one. And over here you can, of course, adjust for difficulty. Now, because you are a high school player, middle school, easy high school, regular high school, hard high school, national high school, I limit it to that. I'm not going to move on to college and things like that. So let's look at Montaigne. And we'll see that when we search for him, he only comes up all so often. 11 times is he mentioned in the toss-up, or he is the answer, as you can see here, of the toss-up. And so you can see, important, but of the questions that did come up, he's only been the answer 3-4 times. All the other times he was actually in the toss-up question. There it is, 4 times, as you can see. Now, for something like this, what you will want to do is you kind of scan and see and all the things that are being asked about and so forth and so on, see stuff that comes up in the bolded part, which is the part that is in power. Now let's do this for Wordsworth, and you'll see what I mean. And I'm going to limit Wordsworth to only the answer. And so when we search Wordsworth, 9 times is he the actual answer. So it tells you that he comes up quite a bit. And what you'll see then is that stuff will start to come up in the question repeatedly. For example, let's just look at the first one. In one work, this poet laments, we have given our hearts away, a sordid boon, this writer of the world is too much with us. So I'm going to Control F that. See if it comes up in other questions of the 9 that are here. There it is. See, it has come up again. So that's something you might want to include. There it is again. There it is again. You might want to include it in your flashcard. Now compare that with Lucy. Lucy poems. Lucy poems. Lucy poems. Lucy poems. Lucy poems. Lucy poems, and so forth and so on. So that'll definitely be something that you want to obviously come up with again. And addresses his sister Dorothy. Sister Dorothy. Let's see if that comes up. There it is. And it might have been inspired by his sister Dorothy, those Lucy poems, and so forth and so on. Now, I keep reading and it says 5 years have passed since he last walked steep and lofty cliffs of the title location. And that title location is going to be Tintern Abbey. And as you can see, Tintern Abbey. Tintern Abbey. Tintern Abbey, it's the last thing. And so what does that tell us about Tintern Abbey? That it's probably the most famous work that he is known for. And if it's the most famous work that he's known for, what I'll probably want to do is I want to, one, look up Wordsworth himself. And just quickly take a minute to see what he's all about. And I just scroll and look and see what's going on. It looks like that lyrical ballads is really important, seeing as it's mentioned within the first paragraph introducing him. And so just in general, now you're not memorizing all the page, but you are paying attention to some stuff that, of course, there's Tintern Abbey. So let's click on it that it talked about so much. And so, Tintern Abbey. I think I'll look that up. And so then you look it up. I want the text of it. And so here, I said, 5 years have passed, 5 summers, and it's not that long. But why will I want to read it? Take the 5-10 minutes that it takes to read the thing? Because I'll make sure that I'll get it right when it comes up, because it certainly will. And so you will be able to get it, and you'll be able to get it right. And so let's see if we Google, or I should say Control F this, and copy, put it up there. 5 years have passed. 5 years have passed. 5 years have passed. The opening to it, as it were. And then daffodils, which is obviously in the text. Do you see how daffodils, 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 wandered lonely as a cloud? Let's put cloud up there. Wandered lonely as a cloud. Wandered lonely as a cloud. Daffodils. Wandered lonely as a cloud. And so forth and so on. Now, this is much more truncated, but as you can see, in only 7 minutes, you will probably have the ability to get a question about William Wordsworth correct by memorizing several items in only 7 minutes. And in that way, you will beat bad teams, because bad teams, one, don't have a literature player, and two, they have never heard of William Wordsworth in their lives. But now, in only 7 minutes, you not only know William Wordsworth, you know William Wordsworth, you know he wrote Tintern Abbey, you know he collaborated with Coleridge on lyrical ballads, you know I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud mentions daffodils, and you know the Lucy poems. And those Lucy poems, in some questions at the high school level, are going to obviously get you 15 points instead of only 10. But by looking over all of these toss-ups that come up, you see the stuff that comes up repeatedly, and hopefully when it sounds interesting to you, you'll then go and look it up yourself. And so you'd want to now Google, I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. And there it is, you click on it. I wandered lonely as a cloud. A host of golden daffodils beside the lake beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. And it's not that long, do you see? And yet that stuff comes up a lot. And combine all of that. So you essentially start with my cheat sheet. These are important people you need to know. You QuizDB them. You Wikipedia them and their works. And then if it's short poems like this, you just simply go and kind of read the poem. And you can do all of that in 10 minutes. Now, 10 minutes per author makes you beat bad teams. And you have hopefully a couple of 3-4 months to get through all of them. But if you do, making your flashcards, making your entries into your study notebook, you will become a good Quiz Bowl player. And this is a systematic way by which you can then do it. Thanks.